Welcome to Stuck in My Mind podcast, the show where we dive into the mind of a regular guy on his road to self-discovery. You'll hear everyday people just like you share the latest topics, personal stories, and things they've learned along the way. And now, please welcome your host, WIZE.
And welcome to another episode. I am your host, WIZE, and I have a very special guest on today. She is, oh man, I know what she is. She's a life coach.
It's a long list.
It's a very long list. But basically, you're a coach and you help business people with personal branding and everything. So welcome to the show, LB Thomas.
That's right. And why? So first of all, I have to tell you that I loved the story of your Chick-fil-A, your poor wife having to go to stuck in my mind. Yeah, that was awesome. I laughed out loud. So that was great. Yeah.
Oh man, that was so funny that day. Because when she was like, oh, what's the name? And I said, it's gonna say stuck.
Stuck.
She's like, what?
Yeah. What? So what we're referring to, those that are listening, is that one of his podcasts is Happiness with Mike Duffy. That's where the story's coming from. So go back and listen to it. It's a good podcast. So, but thank you. I appreciate you having me on. I am so excited. I love your podcast, and anybody named WIZE, I got to talk to. Yeah. So where did WIZE come from?
It's my gamer tag. I didn't think of anything. So I was like, hey, it's just stuck, and yeah. So I just kept it.
Cool. Very cool.
But it fits everything I'm doing. So yeah.
Yeah. That's awesome. That's just awesome.
Yes. So, all right. So you're a coach. You help people out. And this is what the show's about. I love having people on to share their knowledge, and hopefully people out there can get some little nuggets and tune in and check your website out and maybe hire you or something. Who knows?
Maybe hire me or do my course or hire me as a speaker. And I do. And you laughed because my list is long. And yes, I've spent my entire life in advertising and marketing and video production. And as I shared with you, I was at the very, very top. We had a 7-figure ad agency. Our production company, we were shooting behind the scenes and of movies for Miramax and Robert Rodriguez and doing the red carpet junkets. We created award-winning campaigns. It was all just phenomenal. It was a blast. And then my partner was also my husband, and is one of those that I really probably early on knew that we should not be married. It was not going to be the right thing. But part of my fear was, and which we'll talk about, I married, we became partners in business. And finally I was like, I can't do this anymore. So I stayed in that business for longer than I should have with him because, again, of my fears that were holding me back. And what are people going to think? I don't want a divorce. And we have clients, we have combined children, all those things that keep us stuck. And when I finally said, no, life is too short. I can't do this. And we were going through the divorce and all these things. It came up that, and he was in charge of our operations and our finances, and all of started spilling out, and he had failed to file 3 years of our personal taxes from like 6, 7, 8 years prior. And I know you're really, really wise. So if you could figure out the interest and penalty on 3 years of IRS taxes, well, we're talking about $120,000. Yeah. And he pleaded hardship. And so the IRS then turned towards me and said, well, you have a business that's doing well. And I'm like, wait, that's not my money. It's my, media buys and production dollars and crew and all of that. And so then, the IRS doesn't really care. They don't care.
They want their money.
They want their money, and we had not paid it. We hadn't filed, we hadn't paid. And bottom line, WIZE was during all that, I ended up having to fold and dissolve my business because I just couldn't keep it going because I kept having to rob Peter to pay Paul, and which Paul is the IRS, and robbing Peter was, the bank account and trying to pay bills. And I was so sad. I didn't realize I was depressed because people said, "Were you depressed?" And I'm not a depressed person. So I was like, no, I don't think so. And then later I said, well, if it's you go home and you buy a bottle of wine and drink a bottle of wine every night in bed, is that depressed? Then yes. And it wasn't expensive wine because I had no money. It was the bottom shelf at the grocery store wine, not the good stuff. It was the crappiest wine you could buy. And so then I had to sell my home to pay off the IRS. And that's where my kids had grown up and my grandkids. And so I was homeless for about 6 months. Now, homeless, not in the sense that I was living under a bridge, but luckily my kids were grown up and they were married and in college and out. So it was just me living on couches and at friends' places until I figured things out. So I went from being the go-to girl for production and ad agency and parties to homeless in a matter of like that. So yeah. So my life is in marketing and advertising, but the journey, and I love your introduction that you have, your video introduction about talking to regular people, because I'm a regular person, on our journey and what we've learned. And that's where the coaching and helping and speaking and creating courses, because what I found out about myself, I had to stop blaming everybody else. There's a point in life that you have to go, wait, what's my responsibility in this? And when I got over that and really started digging and doing self-discovery, I had a lot of stuff going on. And when I started digging through it is when I found such freedom. And I'm so excited because I help others do that. And the biggest one I think that holds us back is fear. And after this year of pandemic and COVID and businesses losing business, and here in Texas, we had a freeze and people, had broken pipes and lost animal. I mean, it's been a hell of a 2 years. So that's kind of my story in a little nutshell.
And since it's funny that you mentioned fear, because the reason it took me because I had been wanting to start my podcast since 2019. Me and a friend were actually talking about it. Him and his girl got pregnant, so newborn, he was out of it. He wasn't going to do no podcast. So I had this little Behringer studio that I purchased in 2019, and it was just sitting around. I would record, and I'd be like, "That sounds horrible," delete it. I would record. I'd be like, "Who wants to listen to this?" Delete it. And it wasn't until 2020 when I got furloughed from work, and one day I'm just sitting here, and I didn't have any of the equipment I have now. I had my laptop, the little Behringer studio, a mic stand, the mic, and I didn't even have the phone hook. I didn't even have the wire for the phone hookup to go into the mixer. So I had the phone in my hand to the mic, and me and my nephew did the first 5 minutes of for the show. And he was like, "Oh man, we shouldn't release that." I was like, "No, we're gonna release it because I want people to see our growth." So it went from 5 minutes to 7 minutes to 12 minutes. And the more I did it, the more confidence I got, and the more time I kept doing it. And to the point where I started, like episode 4 or 5 is when I started realizing that I wanted to interview people, because at first it was me ranting about work and all the nonsense that was going on, the stupid election and all the craziness that was going on.
Ooh,
and I felt like
you could spend like a month on January 6th and all that stuff. So yeah. I hear you.
So I just wanted to put out positive content. So I just started reaching out to people who were into self-development, self-help, and at first people would, "What are your numbers like?" "Oh no, I can't," and it would ghost me. But then there would be a few people that would come on the show and help, and so it got to the point where it started gaining some traction, and I realized that that's what I wanted my show to be, was me bringing on people who had a story to share, and maybe someone out there might be able to relate with them, and it would help them, and it would be
Yeah.
putting out positive content because there was just so much negativity out there.
Yeah,
And
and
then
what a
all of a
gift.
sudden people,
If you can help one person to change their life wise, I mean, just think about it. And you can go to sleep at night saying, someone's life or their family, someone may not commit suicide today or may not get divorced or may try again or may be more loving because what and I'm talking as if I'm you, provided today. What a great job you have. Really.
no, I love it. I'm want to get to the point where I don't have to do my day job, and my day job is an easy day job. I get paid well, but it's not what I'm passionate about. This is what I love doing. This is what I feel is I'm meant to do, is to help deliver these messages that people have to share.
Yeah. But I love that you talked about the fear. It's not good enough. Maybe I shouldn't put it out. And then once you step through that, that's such that power is when you finally face your fear and step through it. A lot of times you look back over your shoulder and go, it really wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. But it's taken that step. It's facing it.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
it's getting out of your own way, and stop making excuses, and make yourself uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it was. I was complacent. I was okay. I was like, oh, I don't need, again, making up excuses. And I just realized, like, let me just make myself a little bit uncomfortable, do something I wouldn't do. Here we go, press record. And I thank the Lord that I did press the button and started recording, because it's been going great this past year.
That's so great. Good for you. That's exciting stuff. And I love when like you sharing your story, and I know you have all your guests that share their stories. What a difference it makes for people. When I finally stand up, and again, I was the founding president of Texas Women in Business. I mean, I had so much going on, and I had to get up in front of this whole group of women who thought I was the bee's knees, and I'm making it sound like whatever. But you go, oh wow, she is doing this and she's doing that. She's got it all. And when I finally stood up and said, let me tell you exactly what's going on in my life, and I started crying and I verbally vomited everything that was happening and what had happened. The room was silent, and women were filing up to me saying, oh my God, let me tell you what's going on behind my mask. Let me tell you what's going on in my life that I keep saying, oh, I'm great. I'm fine. Everything's great. And most women were like, I'm dying inside. And once I realized that we all have something that we're dealing with, and when we share, it gives permission, it gives other people permission to share and also know that they're not alone and that they can get through it too. They're not alone. And that's been my biggest discovery and sharing. And I'm sure that's what you find sharing your
Yeah.
story.
Not even just sharing my story, just being able to share other people's stories. Because
Yeah.
yes, I have a crazy story, because I do. But at first I felt like I didn't want to share it, and then when I did share it on one episode, someone was like, "Dude, people need to hear what you went through," because I went through a lot. I was widowed at 31.
Wow.
Reconnected with my father after 25 years at the age of 32, only to lose him that Father's Day weekend in 2000. So, and then I lost a brother, uncle, another brother to drug overdose. And I was angry. I was very angry. I was very self-destructive. I was down. You did a bottle of wine. I was drinking tequila every day.
Hey, I like
And it
tequila
was,
too.
oh, there's nothing wrong with tequila. It's just
Nothing wrong.
I was just not it was just not doing. Shouldn't have been doing it every day, all day.
Right, right,
but but
right.
I was angry. I was really angry with everything, with God, people, and then I came to realize, like, I can't control everything. I can't blame I just, things happen in life.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I started realizing that, listen, I'm not doing anyone anything. I'm not making anyone proud with my actions. They're not looking down at me and being like, yo, dude, what are you doing? So I was lucky. I found someone else. I found another woman who helped me, and she helped me get back on the right path, and I was able to find love again. And
That's great.
again, it was just me. I was just tired. I was tired of being in the darkness.
Mm-hmm.
But I wasn't hurting anyone else but myself. I was
Right.
self-destructive. I wasn't abusing anyone. Everything was done to me. I was doing it to myself. So when I got tired of it, of abusing myself, it was like, nah,
Yeah.
I have to get out of this rut. I have to turn my life around, and I have. I'm very proud of where I'm at right now, and where I'm going.
That's so great. And that's the whole point. It's a choice. And when we're in that moment, we have that choice. And you brought up being angry with God. I remember laying in bed and just I was so mad, I was so hurt and angry. And I thought, why can't I be like Job, from the Bible, Sunday school Bible stories where, have faith and trust no matter what. And I'd actually never read Job. I only read the Sunday school version of Job. And so I went back and
Yeah,
read Job and I went, oh, he was really pissed off too. Okay. It's
yeah, he
okay
was.
to be pissed, but we're human beings. And that's one thing that I think that's really important when we do have loss, whatever it is, and we go through something, is to allow ourselves to grieve. Don't stay there. That's not the point. It says walk through the valley. Don't stay there, but move through it. But grieve, allow yourself, like you did. You have to give yourself that, because if you don't, it's going to show up in other places. And that's what I did. I had friends that would say, come on, buck up, pull up your bootstraps, Texas girl. And I'm so glad I didn't, because I would have shoved it down. And I was the queen of avoiding conflict. And so I would shove it under the rug. And I joked with my kids one day. I said, I've shoved so much under the rug that I'm tripping over it because there's so much. And that's what happens. If you don't deal with it, it'll show up. It'll show up in anger. It'll show up in addiction. It'll show up somewhere. So that's when I realized, like you did, all of a sudden I have a choice. And I literally I stood over there actually and drew a line in my imagination, but I did it. I drew it like this. And I said, I can either stay here, and this is what my life will be like for the rest of my life: sad, depressed, insecure, not trusting. I could go down all the things, or I have a choice. What kind of life do I want to have? But it's not this. And so I stepped over that line and said, okay, that's behind me. That's behind me. And every time I look behind me, I'm not going forward. So I've got to just embrace that, because it was part of this journey, which brought me to today. So I get that. I don't forget it, but I don't let it control me. You use the word control. I don't let it control me anymore. And with relationships, the big one for me, it took me 3.5 years to go out on a date to even look. And I have some wonderful girlfriends. One of them said to me one day, she was like, you better get out there, girl, because that ain't going to stay around forever. You got it while you still got it going on. And I was like, well, thanks. And so I finally started dating, and I met this great guy, and we're 6 years, we're dating, we're 6 years in. And I felt so bad, because that's part of that drawing the line, is I accused him of so many things out of my distrust and insecurities from what I had experienced. I'm surprised the guy stayed with me, because I was constantly accusing him of being untrustworthy, of whatever. I don't even remember now. And I'll never forget, one day I was accusing him of something. I wasn't being with other, I don't even remember. But I stopped dead in my tracks and said, oh my God, I'm looking at you through the cracked lenses of my past. That is so unfair to you. You had nothing to do with it. I am so sorry, because it just dawned on me. I'm wearing these glasses that are all broken and judging him and accusing him. And once I realized that, it changed the course of our relationship, because it's like he had nothing to do with that. So that was one of the first lessons I learned of really building myself back up, is stop putting my stuff on other people. That, like I said, I can only control myself. And so it's up to me to make those choices. The other big one was, as I said, fear. The fear of it all. I had no idea how much fear had been sabotaging my life. When I looked back and started realizing that I didn't stand up for myself in my marriage, I didn't stand up for my kids, I didn't speak my mind, I didn't want to cause problems, I wanted people to like me, blah, 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 all that garbage that goes with it. And then when I started peeling away the onion and realized really what I was afraid of was not being worthy or good enough, were my two core fears, was like, holy crap, that I was making decisions and creating relationships and communicating out of those two fears. Not healthy at all. And so that's why I love sharing the steps and knowing when you're in that spot. And one of my favorite stories, whether it's in business or at home, the fears go with us wherever we are. It's not like, okay, now I'm leaving home, and so I'm going to leave those fears. No, they go with us. And then you think about it. I have the girl that cuts my hair, and well, she's not a girl. She's not 8 years old. She's a woman. The woman cuts my hair. One day was putting the foils in to give me highlights, and she got a text, and she looked at it and she slammed it down. She was like, "Oh." And I was like, "What's wrong?" She says, "Oh, I hate that client." She said, "She always changes her mind. She always changes the schedule. She wants me to work on weekends." And I said, "Well, why don't you fire her?" And she said, "Oh, I can't do that. I need the money." Well, that was her fear, right? She needed the money, lack of money. And I said, "Okay." I said, and so then I started going through the process of peeling away this onion for her, and she didn't know I was doing it. I said, "Well, what would happen if you didn't have the money?" And she said, "Oh my God, it would be horrible. It's summer and the kids have camp and I need to pay for camp." I said, "Okay, well, what would happen if the kids didn't go to camp?" She said, "They would be bored. They'd be mad at me. It would be a long summer." And I said, "Well, what would that do to your heart?" She said, "I would feel horrible. I would just feel horrible that my kids couldn't go to camp." And I said, "Well, then what would happen?" She goes, "Well, then I would feel really guilty." I said, "Well, then what would happen?" She goes, "Well, I would feel like I let my family down." "Okay. Well, what would that do to your heart?" And she said, "I'd be afraid I let my family down and they wouldn't love me anymore." And I went, "Oh." And she just went, "Oh, I'm holding on to clients that I don't even like, threading on down to, because I'm afraid my family won't love me if I don't provide." So once we peeled away that onion of what really was her fear, it wasn't the fear of not having enough money. I went and processed. She came back and said, "Oh, I called that client and I fired her." And I was like, "Whoa, okay." I didn't mean like right this moment, but okay. And she said, "And I did." And when I hung up, my phone rang and it was somebody that wanted more done, was accommodating to my schedule. And that opened it up. Getting rid of that opened it up for a blessing or for new business with what she wanted. So it's really interesting. And when I said that, she went, "Ugh," that's the thing to look for. I call it a trap. And when we get triggered and we're in a trap, is when you realize there's something tied to it. Trigger is when it's how someone communicates with you, or a situation or behavior. It's not a person. Like, for example, maybe your teenage kids leave their dishes in the sink and you get so mad because they keep leaving them there. It's not the kids, it's the behavior. And when you get triggered, you can feel it. It's that thing that just punches you in the gut, or you get so mad, you get frustrated. And that's when you're in a trap, is when you've got all those body sensations. And I have a friend of mine who, when people drive in front of him in the left lane, slow, he goes out of his mind. Now, for me, that doesn't bother me. It's not a trap for me, but it's a trap for him. And so that's when you realize, okay, this is something bigger than I'm just pissed off. What is holding me back? What is down here at the bottom of this? Right at that moment, especially if you're in a situation, in a conversation, and you're being triggered, I say that's the time you want a disruptor. You want one small step. You need to take that breath. And, mom was right. Think before you think before you speak, whether it's counting to 10, whether it's taking a quick look outside the window, whatever it is, you want that disruptor, because when you're in that trigger, when you're in that trap, that's when you react and you say something or do something that you go, oh man, I wish I wouldn't have done that. So when you have a disruptor, when you're in that space, gives you a moment to respond, to think through and come back with a response instead of a reaction. And first of all, that'll change that whole communication line right there when you come at it from there. And that's when I use that time to do a quick self-evaluation. I go, okay, is this really tied to my fear of not being good enough or not being worthy? Am I looking at this from that? And that's when I take a quick look at that. Or am I just really pissed? Am I just angry because you made me mad? But it gives you that chance to walk through those steps that we talked about. And that's, again, what would happen if that happened? What would happen then? What would that do to your heart? What would happen then? And you just kind of keep peeling that back until you really get down to that core fear, because we only have 5. There's lists and lists and lists, but bottom line, they all kind of fall into 5 fears. And that's fear of not being loved, fear of being alone, fear of not trusting, not good enough, and not being worthy. All fears can kind of go in one of those silos of fears. And when you figure out which one of those is what's driving your actions or your inaction, the freedom is amazing. Is just amazing. And
it is.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
And, I said the fear of being alone. Somebody said, I love being alone. And I said, oh no, I do too. There's a difference between, giving me getting a great book and a good bottle of Cabernet. I am happy girl, right? That's solitude. That's something I choose. The alone I'm talking about is because you've pushed people away. You've done things, you've reacted, and you don't have someone when you need them. That's a whole different thing of being alone. And the fear of trust, a lot of that comes from with abuse. And, that is a good, valid reason from abuse not to trust.
Yeah.
The thing that amazes me most, WIZE, and when I learned this, we're only born with 2 fears. That's it. We're born with the fear of falling and the fear of loud noises. That's it. So all the fear that you feel, I feel, that your listeners feel, any fear they're having, whether it's fear of failure, being rejected, whatever it is, we learned that. We pick that up along the way, whether it's from our parents, whether it's our teachers, media, friends, it doesn't matter. But the beauty is if you've learned it, you can unlearn it. You can recognize it and go, oh, wait, okay, I remember what that is. And I remember how that sabotages me. But first of all, it's facing it, acknowledging it, naming it, so you know what it is. So when it creeps up, because somebody said to me, oh, good, well, I'll never have that again. Oh, you will. It doesn't mean it goes away. But when it shows up, you can go, that's what that is. I know that's the fear of me not being good enough. Of course I'm good enough. It has nothing to do with this, but that is what's driving this conversation.
Yeah,
That's where the beauty comes.
If you don't face it, it's going to come back. So the moment you face it and you confront it, that's lesson learned. That's moving on to the next one, and it's a continuous thing. I'm learning every day. I'm developing myself every day. This road to self-discovery is not stopping anytime soon.
No, it's not. And words are so powerful, and I know you know this, and I know many of your listeners listen, but it amazes me how we talk to ourselves. And I'll say things, and I haven't done it in a really long time, and I'm very grateful. But I would say things to myself when I was beating myself that I never would say to you or to my best friend or to a sibling. The How we can beat ourselves up and the way we talk to ourselves is so damaging. And so that's one thing that I think is really important, is to really listen to our self-talk and the words that come out of our mouth. I was I was doing a workshop, and this guy in the workshop, the other facilitator, said, you want to be a fortune teller? Do you want to know what your life is going to be like in 5 years? And I was like, yeah, that'd be cool. What is it? And he said, what you're thinking and what you're saying is going to be your reality in 5 years. And you think about that. Oh, I'm never going to do this podcast. It's never going to be good. No one's ever going to listen to it. Why should I even bother? This is ridiculous. Blah, blah. Well, guess what? You won't. But hey, you know what? I'm going to do this. I'm going to have a successful podcast. I'm going to be a great speaker. I'm going to do these things. Our words, our thoughts become words that become actions. So one of my biggest pieces of advice is what I say to folks is that if you want to know what your reality is going to be, listen to yourself. Listen to what's in your head. It's huge.
Well, definitely, you gotta talk nice to yourself. You have to talk very nice to you. You have to That's one thing. That's one thing I'm very key on is I make sure, like, I don't go and be, oh, I'm an idiot, or I don't beat myself. Those words are powerful. Those when you start spitting those words to yourself, especially to yourself, it can be very harmful. You can be very, very, very self-destructive with the words you say to yourself. So one thing I'm very keen on is talking very nice to myself.
Yeah.
I talk to myself very nice. I am very kind to myself.
I do too. And it took me a long time to do that, because I would do that. I would go, oh, you idiot. I can't believe you said that. But in the last couple of years, I've gotten to the point where I really can't think of the last time I said something to myself negatively. And my positive energy and my enthusiasm, you can say I don't spend time there. I don't spend time there at all. And the other thing I don't spend time doing, as I used to do as well, is how many times I used to stay awake all night worrying about something and going the what if, and that what if never even happens sometimes. So it's really living in that present moment, talking very kindly, knowing what the fear is and peeling away that onion. And again, you said it perfectly. We got to name it. You face it. I say you name it. The minute that I know something's going on, I give it a name, so that way it becomes real. So once I know what that fear is and it comes up again, I literally say out loud, oh, I remember you. Yeah, you're the fear of whatever. No, he didn't work for me then, and you're not going to work for me now, but thank you, bye. But I make sure that I don't shove it away. And again, we just talked about that. You shove it down, you shove it away, you sweep it away, it will come back, and probably not very pretty like.
No, that's why you have to face it. You have to face it, because the moment you face it, that fear goes away. Like my fear was that no one would want to listen to me. My fear was I sound horrible. Who the heck would want to listen to me? I sound like Shrek or something. And it's the complete opposite. It is the complete opposite. People have come to me, hey, you have a great radio voice. I love listening to you. And I'm like, thank you. I appreciate that. And it's just, but again, it's me. It's just, I beat up myself. I'm probably my worstest critic. And I think that's everyone. Everyone is their worst critic. And so, but I've come to realize, stop beating myself up. I'm doing pretty well from where I started. Like, I didn't know anything about podcasting. I didn't know anyone that podcast. Everything I'm doing, I'm self-taught. I'm learning how to edit myself. Now learning how to do video. All the equipment that I got, I did the research, purchased it. It was me. But that's because I wanted to improve. I found something that I love to do. So it wasn't like a job.
You're loving it. You're obviously very passionate about it. Absolutely. Yeah. No, that's very cool. Well, am really thrilled that I got to be on your show because I know, again, I've flipped through and listened to them, and I know that's what you're all about, is bringing more joy and happiness and helping people get some ahas and some nuggets to make their lives better.
And at first I was like, a guest made me realize it's like for a little bit I was like, I was kind of, I would say I'm being kind of selfish because I'm also learning as well. But then they're like, no, you're not being selfish. You're self-loving. Just the fact that you want to learn shows that you love yourself. It's that simple. It's not being selfish. You're self-loving yourself by wanting to gain this knowledge, by wanting to speak to these people, and of course, applying whatever I learned to my life that I feel that pertains to me.
Yeah. That's it. You know, a good friend of mine always says you eat the meat and you spit out the bones. You spit out the stuff that doesn't work. And it's just a journey, and it's a fun journey. It really is. If you look back, and I know now that I look back at my life and go, oh my God, I've been in advertising and marketing. I've been a speaker. I've been a coach. I've been this and all these little funny little dots. If you really look back at your life, you go, oh, they all go together for a reason. And it's I love that analogy, and I love when people think about when they start connecting their dots of, okay, yeah, it wasn't so bad. I learned that so I could learn this, so I could get to here and there, and yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's actually
every
helped.
setback, yeah, every setback can be a setup for something if you learn from it.
Yeah, I've like people like, oh, they think that they're gonna come out and they're gonna monetize their podcast the first day they release it.
Wouldn't that
It's
be
nothing like
nice?
that. Yeah, I wish, but I've found other ways. Like I've started creating logos. I've started editing podcasts. I actually picked up my first big client. I'm gonna help her launch her YouTube station, YouTube channel, her podcast. I'm gonna produce it for her, edit,
That's
and
awesome.
this is a big step for me because this is something that again, I started my production company last year, and we've been working out the kinks and doing basically just doing in-house production. But now we're stepping out, and people. She was actually a guest on one of my shows a couple of weeks ago. So to have her have faith in me and believe in me to give me this
Yeah,
opportunity is big.
that's great. Well, and I love it because you did it all in house, and we always used to say when we were working on ad campaigns or something, it's like we first want to start off Broadway, make sure it works, and then we'll go to Broadway. So you're stepping onto Broadway, Wise. That's exciting.
Yeah, it is. It is. It's been great, and just a lot of the people I've been able to connect with, and it's the energy that I put out. It's what I'm attracting back into. That's how we're able to connect. That's why we're connecting, because we're on similar vibes.
Right,
We have similar energy, so we're able to connect. Because if we were not on the same vibration, this wouldn't happen.
right. I completely agree. We've got the same purpose and motivation. I just do it through coaching and courses and speaking, and you do it by sharing other people's knowledge. Yeah,
Yeah,
just I just want the world to be a, a little happier and better place. Yeah.
yeah.
And you can find joy, and that's part of it, is you can find joy in everything. You really can. And you just have to look for it. If you wake up in the morning and it's a misty, cloudy morning and go, oh, it's going to be a terrible day. It's cloudy. It's horrible. It's going to be a terrible drive to work. Or you wake up and go, oh my God, what a beautiful morning. Look at that mist. Look at the dew. Look at the animal. It's just the way you look at things. And Wayne Dyer says it. How does he say? He says, if you change the way you look at things, the way you look at things will change.
Yeah, I
And
love Wayne Dyer. He's very good. Yeah.
I know. And he said that a couple times. I listened to his book, The Power of Intention. I listened to the audiobook of that. And I'm surprised I was able to quote that because it's such a confusing line that I always have trouble with it. But that's so true. Yeah.
It is.
It's that intention. Yes. Well, this was awesome. Thank you so very much.
Oh, no, thank you. Now it's part of it. Now it's part of the show where you get to plug away and let everybody know where they can find you and all your links and everything.
Oh, the thing that I've got several things. One is as a speaker, I speak a lot on Zoom for corporations and meetings and conferences, and hopefully the world is opening back up. I know we were just starting to get out there and speak on stage, and now people are like, I don't know, with everything going on. So, but absolutely, a lot of my information you can find at LisaBethThomas.com. That would be the easiest, rather than trying to say Facebook and all these things. And there is a link on LisaBethThomas.com to OutwittingFear.com. And that will, if someone wants to actually walk through the process, takes about an hour. It doesn't take long to get to the bottom of what their core fears are. And there's a promo code that they could put in podcast and get 10% off the course. It's only $97, I think. I wanted to keep it really cost effective so people would do it and love it and share it. So they can get 10% off with that promo code of podcast.
That's awesome, because that's a great price, because some of these gurus charge a ridiculous amount for the coaching, and it's great to see. And of course you have to charge something because your time is valuable, but you're like,
I want more people to do it. Yeah, I want more people to do it. It's cost of a pair of shoes. And somebody asked me, actually, why $97? And I said, well, I figured up one time how much wine, of really cheap wine, I drank like in a 2-week period, and it was like $97 or whatever it was. The amount of wine I drank in a month, again, it was the $7 bottles, horrible wine. I was like, okay, but it's a pair of shoes. It's not a big deal. And I had a woman that promised me that she was going to do the course. She promised me maybe now for a year. And then finally, not long ago, she said, I'm afraid to do the course. I'm afraid to see what it is. And about 3 weeks ago, I got a text from her. It was about midnight, 11:30 midnight. And she said, I bit the bullet. And oh my God, why didn't I do this a year ago? Thank you, thank you, thank you. She said, I have so much freedom knowing what's been holding me back and sabotaging me. So again, that's why I keep the price low. I want people to do it. I'd rather have them do it than not.
That's awesome. Yeah, like I said, you get these gurus that charge people thousands and thousands of dollars. And the fact that you're offering them $97 is awesome. Like you said, it's a pair of shoes.
Yeah.
Like it's an investment in yourself. Like you're not worth $97.
Yeah. Somebody told me the other day, people may take the course more if it was 1,000 because they would think it's more valuable. I'm like, no, I want as many people to be able to do it as possible. That's no. And we're going to be.
Think about it. If you think about it, if you get 2 people to do it at $500, but then you get all the people, I'm not going to do it. It's too much money. Or you get 10 people and at $97. Hey.
Yeah. Right. Who changes their life, who changes their kid's life, who changes their relationship, who in business now is not afraid to make a cold call or call that client who's been kind of pushing back because, okay, I'm afraid of cold calls. No, that's not really it. When they realize I'm afraid of being rejected because I won't be loved, and they realize that no. That doesn't have anything to do with this. This is business. It changes people's lives, changes it. So
definitely. But I appreciate you being on. This is great.
Well, I appreciate it. And I will definitely, if you're interested, what I'll do is I'll send you the link to the course just so you can take it if you have time, and just so as my gift to you, I will send you the link and at no charge, because as a thank you to you. So if you get to, I would love for you to give me your feedback. Again, it takes about an hour. Yeah.
I will definitely take it. Yeah, just
send
email it to me and I'll take it.
Yeah, I'll do it on that link and I'll send it to you. Cool.
Awesome. Yep. Thank you. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
This has been great. Oh no, this has been great. I love talking to people, especially people who got some great stories and message to share. This is what I love to do. But I appreciate
Well,
you
you
being
do it
on.
well.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I'm still learning and growing, so
It's okay.
still
And
got
I
some
can't
more-
wait to
some more
promote you. I will
development.
definitely be promoting you through my network. So for sure.
Oh well, I'm gonna actually be releasing this video in a couple of days, so I'll send it. I'll send you the once we're done here, I'll download it and I'll email it to you, and you can
Perfect.
repurpose it
I
for
will.
whatever you want to use it for.
I will. Thank you, WIZE.
Thank you. But now it's time for shout outs. Big shout out to my real WIZE fam, Brandy J, Poppy J. Love you guys. Big shout out to the boss lady, Fina. Love you, baby. Appreciate everything you do for me. And as always, a big shout out to all the essential workers out there. God bless you. Be safe. And you know how your boy WIZE does it. Peace out.
Thanks for listening. Listen on iTunes, Podbean, Spotify, and TuneIn. Find us on social media on Twitter at WIZE_B_blunt, Instagram at WIZE_B_blunt, and a Facebook fan page, www.facebook.com/WIZE76. Check back soon for new episodes. Until next time, peace out.